Every offender is different. So if we want to change their behaviour, we need to understand why that particular individual did what they did. And the answer is always going to be different. So we do a whole range of assessments to try and identify what led this person to commit the offence and how likely it is that they're going to commit another offence. Some offenders are much more likely to commit further offences than others. Community corrections officers, doctors, engineers, all of those different industries employ tools, which are structured assessments that enable us to make more accurate predictions. All of the evidence suggests that using those tools is much more accurate than going off gut instinct.
Our assessment tools categorise these offenders into low, medium and high risk of reoffending. So once a risk has been identified, we're then able to give the right dosage or the right intervention to the offenders.
It's important that we put our resources into those group of offenders that just keep on doing it. Because if we have somebody that has managed to stop themselves from offending, then putting more programs into them is not going to get a lot of benefit.
If someone's assessed as low risk, the focus that we have is to ensure that the stable factors in their life remain. In the case of managing a high-risk offender, supervision is more intensive.
So I've also recently supervised an offender who has been assessed as having a high risk of reoffending. She has a number of sexual offences, amongst other offences such as violence offences. When he's coming in every week, we're obviously having that one-on-one interventions where we're looking at the cognitive behavioural therapy stuff. Home visits are conducted more frequently. We're seeing him every 4 weeks. He's also part of a forensic psychological service program, so that's based around the sex offenders, so that's every week as well. He's also seen a community-based psychologist and constantly liaising with his family, making sure that things are okay at home. I'm also having frequent contact with the police because the offender is also subject to the Child Protection Register. Intensive supervision for a high-risk offender is really important to managing the risk of reoffending and also the protection of the community.
Offenders change over time, circumstances change, and we need to be able to respond and adapt to that.
I know an offender's risk is reducing when they come into an interview and they're showing more insight into their behaviour. Their attitudes have changed. So whereas they may have once thought that violence was an okay response to a situation, they now know that it's not. My offender had a conflict in a pub and he told me that he walked away, and I knew that that was a critical moment, and I knew that that meant that his risk level was starting to decrease.
On the other side, change of circumstances. I've had many cases where a guy has lost his employment, a breakdown of relationship, and because of his inability to be able to cope with the pressure and the demand that's been put on him, he's then resorted to using illicit substances again. And so obviously this is where the risk is escalating. That's why it's important that we continue to manage the offender's risk of reoffending so we can see the early signs and prevent it from happening.
The priority for community corrections is community safety. We're targeting medium and high risk offenders because that's what works. And we want to do the best job that we can to protect the community and prevent victims.